Hey everybody, how you doing? Yep. One of these days we'll get to say that's good after the after a home game, but tonight is not that night. Welcome to the PHLY Flyers Postgame Show presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name's Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me tonight is Flyperboli's own. I guess you are Flyperboli at this point. Like, it's one and the same.
It is one and the same. I've run the account for years at this point. Like, yeah, you might as well. I mean, it's me and Ryan Quigley. He's doing out there doing the hard work every week with me, but, you know.
It's Steve.
It's basically me.
It's Steve Jaco.
Yeah, it's me.
Steve.
Deal with it. He's got to put up with the smell tonight. Sorry, folks.
I love having Steve around. It's always a lot of fun. You know what wasn't fun? 60 minutes of Flyers hockey tonight. The only positive thing I can say about this game is we have started post-game and it's only 8:45. That's it.
That's it.
This team is really, really infuriating. And I took the time to look this up. So even though they scored, I'm going to pretend as if they got shut out in their first two home games of the season, because basically they did. So I went back to see how futile the offense was compared to Flyers teams of the past. 2018-19, the Flyers scored 2 in their home opener to San Jose, then got shut out by Vegas. Then we have to go all the way back to 1999-2000. They brought this up when they actually got shut out in the home opener. So they're shut out in the home opener against Ottawa. Then the next game, shut out by the Hurricanes.
Ooh. A much better team back then, mind you.
Yeah. All the way back before that, 76-77. Shut out by the Isles, then shut out in home game number 2 by the Kings. And 1971-72, shut out home opener by the Kings, and then scored 2 against Chicago in the second home game. This is dreadful. 1 goal through 6 periods at home. This offense, listen, we can talk about the goaltending. We can certainly talk about the defense, and it was individual mistakes by defensemen tonight. And by defensemen, I mean Egor Zamula. That Drysdale turnover was bad, too.
That was pretty bad, yeah.
But they can't score. They're horribly boring, Steve.
They're so boring, and they can't hit the broadside of a barn. Owen Tippett, I don't know. Again, he has been cursed by some sort of swamp witch or something. He can't hit anything. They can't hit anything. They don't have any cohesion. Like, if I just watched this hockey team for the first time tonight, I would swear to you that they just met each other in the parking lot beforehand and just started winging it with hockey, because this team looks like they've never met each other before.
Just very little cohesion, especially offensively. It looked like they tightened up a little defensively tonight. It got away from them at the end, but Nick Seeler comes back. I thought they did a better job of, the 2 goals they give up that really decide the game are 2 shorthanded breakaways, thanks to just really bad individual efforts. Like, you take that away, yeah, they were okay, at least in the details of the game through the first 2 periods. But there's with 7:04 left in the third, there's a little quick graphic that comes up next to the score bug. Flyers have 5 shots since the first period. I think they ended up with 8 in the final 40 minutes. Let's see here. Yeah. 3 in the second and 5 in the third. They are trailing this entire time. and they have power plays. It's not as if there was a bunch of one side. Somehow they manage 8 shots on goal in 40 minutes of hockey at home.
Is that good?
No. It isn't, Steve. It's freaking... I wish this is one of the instances where I really wish the swearing ban got taken away.
Shucks.
Because this is effing embarrassing.
It is.
Like, you come out, and I was willing, like I said in the last post game, I am willing to, all right, 4-game road trip against some pretty good teams, and you're out west. It's a weird start. You have Michkov joining the team. He doesn't speak English. He's 19 years old. Jet Luchenko, he's the youngest player in hockey. Jamie Drysdale, we're openly saying we need to reteach him hockey. Like, there's just a lot going on. Then you come home, the Canucks have been on the East Coast for a week longer than the Flyers have. Okay, I'm willing to chalk it all up. They sound like excuses, but if they can get their crap together, I will write them a pass. They did not go very far in bringing themselves that pass tonight. They looked worse somehow.
They did look worse somehow. And, that first game, all the excuses that you said are somewhat valid. It did drive me nuts that, this is not a Canucks team with Thatcher Demko at this point. Yeah. If the Canucks have Thatcher Demko and the Flyers get shut out 3-0, okay. I understand. I completely understand.
No, Kevin Lankinen doesn't do it for you?
Not quite, my friend. Not quite. But, man, tonight, this Caps team is just like... That's a team that was barely better than the Flyers last year. Like a team that
came down to the last day of the season. Right. Who amongst the Flyers, Caps, and Penguins would make the playoffs, and all three stunk.
Oh, they were terrible. The Caps goal differential was just a hot turd out there. It was horrible. The team did not deserve to make the playoffs. Granted, they did make adjustments in the offseason. They were a better team, but they didn't really play that much better than the Flyers tonight besides those two short-handed goals.
What did they if they just come out and you're like, oh man, the Caps, they did come in 3-1, so okay, they're off to a nice start. What did the Caps do tonight? They're like, oh, well, there's nothing you can do about that. It's just, this is not the Caps of 10 years ago.
No, you don't have Ovi ripping one-timers.
Ovechkin was invisible for most of the night. Like, he took a penalty. That was about it for Ovi. Yeah. Oshie's gone. Backstrom's gone. Carlson's off to a nice start. He's 35. This is not that team anymore. And yet, the Flyers can get nothing going against them. And you mentioned right off the top, they looked like they never played together. They're just strangers. So little cohesion.
Perfect strangers.
This mixer that the lines are perpetually in. Like, if this was, I wish John Tortorella could run the milkshake machine at a McDonald's to keep the thing going, because I've never seen anything like this where we don't have lines together ever. Ever.
It drove me nuts that he completely shifted them again tonight. And I feel like this is all just some crazy effort by Tortorella to maybe prove to Danny Briere, like, we need Jet Luchenko because look what I'm working with here without Jet Luchenko. And for some reason, he also included Tyson Foerster. Like, I cannot explain or even attempt to explain why he scratched Tyson Foerster today. That drove me nuts because he's one of your best two-way players in this team.
What I said in pregame is I don't like it because, like, one, I thought Couturier and Michkov kind of showed a little cohesion together in the last game. They're both good at – this team can't establish a forecheck at all, and that's one thing Coots can do is make some space down low, and we've seen Mish is great down low. Put Foerster with them. Now you have two guys who are defensively responsible, and Foerster can score. We saw it. 20 goals as a rookie is a good number. Make that a line, but I'm willing to just go, all right, well, you scratch, like – Morgan Frost. Everyone's immune to that. Nobody gets a message from that. It's like, oh, it's just Torts being Torts. You scratch Couturier, that could have a negative effect. We saw it did last year. He wants to get some other guys in the lineup. So let's sit one of my guys. Tyson Foerster, all 82 games last year. He went 15 games to start the season without a goal, stayed in the lineup. Was very good for him. We know Torts loves him. If he sits one of his guys, maybe everyone gets the message. Maybe it's being
I don't think
address not found. The message address not found on this message. Yeah. A team that puts up less than 20 shots on goal in an NHL game, they're not out there against an elite team. No, this is not some. Well, what can you do? This is the Washington Capitals. They're okay at best.
They're not even the Penguins, who the Penguins are they're on a downswing right now.
But at least they still have those other guys.
They still have Sidney Crosby, who is still playing an elite level just to spite us. I'm convinced. And then they've also got Malkin, who he still pots a bunch of goals. They've got Carlson. They've got they still have elite talent over there. Who's the best player in the Capitals right now? Strome? I think it's Strome. Who's a pretty good player, but he's not an elite player. And the Flyers, we know this team isn't great. We're not under the impression this is a great team. But this is a team they should be able to skate with and compete with. And they had nothing tonight. They had no juice, no cohesion. They could not establish a forecheck. Their offensive shot selection was so bad. I just tuned out of the game for large chunks of the time in the second period. And I had to rewind a couple times and be like, okay, what happened there? Because I was not interested.
So many little things that you see and go what the hell are they doing? There's I believe in the second period, what could have been a 2-on-1 with Brink and Poehling. And Brink's carrying the puck down the left side. And instead of like open up in the middle of the ice, Poehling follows him on the left side and cuts behind him, eventually ends up in front of the net. Brink finds Risto on the far side. And all right, Poehling is at least in position now. And then Risto takes like 3 seconds to finally just rip a wrist shot right into the goalie.
Oh my God.
Like, it was, what is everyone doing here?
That play drove me insane.
But thank God we are double shifting Ryan Poehling.
Oh, thank God. I mean, if you weren't double shifting Ryan Poehling, what were you going to do? That play just drove me nuts because at first I was like, oh, Bobby Brink made a great pass. And then I saw who it was to. I saw it was to Rasmus Ristolainen, and I had just so many immediate questions. Why is he there at this part of the offensive zone at this time of year, located entirely near the blue line? I don't understand why
it's been insane. There. And that was, guard
your own net, Risto. Why can't you just guard your own net?
There are very few things that you really take away from the game for like the first half of it. It's like, you know what? I think Coots and Mish kind of have something going here. Yeah. And immediately we get an interview with John Tortorella, and he goes, I don't like what's going on at center right now. I just moved Poehling in between Tippett and Michkov. And it's like, but these guys, the reason nobody wants these guys in like a top 6 role or a top line, it is their hockey IQ. Now, the smartest guy on the ice is 19. Like, that shouldn't be the case ever. No. Realize that this dude is special. He absolutely is. And he picks up a secondary assist tonight. Nice little battle he won to get the puck out to York. York finds Sanheim. Sanheim gets his first. Okay, that's a play. But what is the point of, what are we trying to figure out with Ryan Poehling? I like Ryan Poehling in a bottom of the lineup role. He's a fine player. 4th line center, cool. You could do a lot worse. The Poehling, Hathaway, Deslauriers, Poehling, Hathaway, Cates, whatever you want out there, good 4th line. That's it. There's nothing else to Ryan Poehling. There's nothing else there. If there was, he would cost a whole lot more than you're paying him. You would have got him for less than nothing a season ago.
Oh, 100%. Ryan Poehling's one of those guys, when you watch him out there, it's like, okay, he's got some speed, right? That's cool. And he can win some faceoffs every now and then. But when you see him get into the offensive zone, he's basically like, what do I do with this black disc in front of me? He doesn't really, like, that's just not his game. And look, there's a reason he's a 3rd, 4th liner. There absolutely is a reason that he's down there. He's not a top of the lineup player, let alone a guy who warrants like multiple slots in the lineup, like you've got an injury somewhere. And I truly don't understand it. And it's just so frustrating and boring to watch.
It's very boring. There was like, right after that, there was a penalty, and then it seemed like Coots and Michkov got put back together, and then the lines were just whatever for the rest of the game. I did really appreciate, although he did not scratch Morgan Frost. Morgan Frost did not get a shift in the 3rd until halfway through the period. They love not putting out offensive players when they need offensive players. Oh, yeah. Like, they need a goal. This happened again the last time they played Washington in the last game of the season. You have Morgan Frost, who I think was 2nd on the team in points per game, and Brink, who was like 6th or 7th. Yeah, neither of them are playing in the second half of the game. Like, I get needing to... You're doing this thing where, yes, you're rebuilding, and yes, you're teaching, but also we're trying to be competitive. So in the game, you have to make a decision of which one you're doing.
Yes, you absolutely have to make a decision on that. And let's also try to remember, Tortsy, there's people paying good money to see this flaming sack of whatever on the ice out there. And yeah, we got a little bit of entertainment at the beginning when Nic Deslauriers dropped the gloves. That was fun and everything. But we want to see goals, my friend. We want to see offense. And look, Bobby Brink might be a disaster defensively, but he's one of the few guys who's creative offensively out there. So I want to see more of Brink when they're down in the game. I want to see more of Frost when they're down in the game, because those are the guys who are actually trying to do stuff offensively, and it drives me nuts. So at one point, Tortorella made this face.
Yeah,
they showed him on the
he
bench,
looked
like,
the bulldog
can't see it over there, but
the bulldog grinning face, like the snarl. Yeah, it was a tremendous Torts face.
It was a great Torts face. I posted on Twitter, and that really summed up how I felt about the game at that point. And thank you to John Tortorella, because you caused us all this pain with your just insane lineup shuffling in a winnable game again. You know,
I did get a number of people on Twitter who are reaching out and just going, being frustrated with this team, booing this team is like booing the process Sixers. And while I get the sentiment, they're rebuilding, there's a lot of young guys in the lineup, They're not losing on purpose.
No.
And they have made long-term commitments now already to Travis Konechny, already to Owen Tippett. They have previous long-term commitments to Sean Couturier. You're never going to be able to get out of that. Previous long-term commitment to Travis Sanheim. And the thing that was maybe didn't go right with the process Sixers is like, all right, we're trying to bring along these young players. So maybe someone should be running point that we didn't pull out of the stands a half hour before the game. And that's their theory here. That's why we have these veterans to kind of help steady things. It's not working. And do I expect them to win? No. All the time. Like the playoffs, yeah, I thought it was going to be like last year. Maybe they get in, maybe they don't. But they're supposed to be competitive. They're supposed to be building. Sure, it's 6 games. But who has taken a step, Steve?
Nobody.
Like the best player on the team is 19 years old. And it's not particularly like close right now. Who's playing well?
No, and like I would hope that Travis Konechny would show up, and he just looks pissed off at himself out there. He's taking dumb penalties. He took at least 2 dumb penalties tonight.
Taking penalties. He's not burying the chances he gets. He gets one out of the box. He dives, so that was great, but he doesn't bury it.
A Mike Richards-esque goal if it had worked out.
He's had a few setups down low from Mish that he hasn't been able to put away. You got to believe he's going to score.
Him and Tippett are the guys that you need to score right now and aren't doing it. And just really quickly on the process Sixers, you know what the biggest problem that the process Sixers had? They drafted Markelle Fultz instead of Jason Tatum.
Wow, yeah. That's all the draft picks were also a mistake. It's like
there's one good one, and it's Joel Embiid.
That being the issue, but like, yeah, the Flyers wanted to go a different way. They said, we're not going to tank. We're not going to just teach a culture of losing. We're going to have a competitive team. 18 shots is not a competitive team.
And that's the thing. This is not the middle of the process Sixers when they were selling a whole row for $10. Yeah. This is the Sixers once they had Joel Embiid. So the Flyers have their, hopefully, Joel Embiid, who is in the lineup and here and very, very young and very good, but they don't have anybody surrounding him. And my whole thing is I don't want him to get mad because I don't want him to feel like he did over with his KHL, whatever the minor league KHL is called. I don't want him to get frustrated with that because the reports were he got frustrated by the talent around him not being able to keep up with him. And we're kind of seeing that already here. And that is not good.
And Misha's not like a complete product yet. It's not as if he's dominating every shift. But he is making things happen, and when he does, someone needs to help. And that's not what we're seeing right now. That is a great point. We are guaranteed, Matvei, and listen, I hope Matvei Michkov is a Flyer for 20 years. We're guaranteed 3 years of him. Like, he has an entry-level contract, and if you don't think teams are going to be like, oh, yeah, we're going to offer sheet him. We're going to target him. We're going to try to trade for him. We're going to be back channeling to be like, you want to hit free agency, right? Maybe don't sign right away. Don't sign that 8-year contract immediately. You know, like you need to, it might not need to be the priority right now, but you need to put something around him where he sees the light at the end of the tunnel. This team, and again, they could come together. It could get back to what it was for the first 2/3 of last season. But this team right now isn't close to that team that went out and overachieved last year.
I think they have talent that they can do that, but I have to put this on the coaching staff right now because it doesn't seem like they have any idea what to do with these guys. You know, Tortorella, I don't like how many mind games he's already playing in the season. We know that's his MO. We know that's how John Tortorella coaches teams. But 2-3 weeks into the season, he's already, scratching Tyson Foerster, and it almost feels like he keeps Luchenko around as kind of a tool to kind of mess with these other guys sometimes. And it's a little too much too soon there, where I think you need to just build a cohesive unit, get these guys. I mean, maybe he's trying to get them all to hate him in classic Tort style and rally that way, like Major League or something. But I don't like what he's been doing so far. I don't really like how the coaching staff has been treating this lineup. And it feels like this is a team that's definitely underachieving. Again, I have no expectations for this team to be winning games, but I don't expect them to look as just
listless
and listless as they did tonight. They were abysmal. They were an unwatchable hockey team tonight. They were an unwatchable hockey team in the previous game. And that Seattle game, they were a hot mess, but at least they were kind of fun. Personally, I mean, my post-game record's terrible. I think you need to stop inviting me. No, but only a fool would think such things because I have no bearing on how the Philadelphia Flyers play hockey, because if I could have just removed myself from podcasting years ago and seen them win a cup, I would have done it. It's just not an option, guys. I have no bearing on it. And John Tortorella, though, does have a bearing on it, and I want him to – I don't know. I don't know coaching well enough to really say what he needs to do, but he needs to do something to build a cohesive unit, and the only guys he's really left alone are the defense, and –
that's not going too great either.
No, not really.
I'm gonna come back to John Tortorella in just a second, but first, I got to tell you about our friends, our presenting sponsors, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Bet365, they have 90 million users worldwide, live stream over 780,000 events each year, with a great offer for early payouts across the NBA, NFL, NHL, and Major League Baseball. They've pioneered live in-game betting, so maybe you start one of these hockey games and go, not going so great for the Flyers. Maybe we want to take a look at their team total under, because they can't find anything tonight. We had a few pregame bets. That Michkov anytime goal, that Owen Tippett anytime goal didn't quite come through first, but hey, Sam Ersson hits that saves over again, second game in a row. So at least we have that going for us. But right now at Bet365, when you download the Bet365 app and use code PHLY365, you can get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Pennsylvania. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. And while we're here, I want to tell you about Game Time, baby. That's right. It's Game Time. You know they are the #1 secondary ticket market, and it's because of features like Game Time Picks that makes getting the tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. I used Game Time just the other night. We got AEW coming to town, 2300 Arena. You know I'm going to be there, and I'm going with Game Time. But it's not just the picks. It's the all-in pricing. It's the views from your seat, the low price guarantee, and the Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time, baby. All right. Back to Torts.
Back to Torts. This face.
There is some now belief, at least in the Flyers Twitter sphere,
which
that
we know that's always where all the best news comes from, the least fake news.
It's where we built our audiences, Steve.
It's where we're from, you know?
Exactly.
Whether we like to admit it or not.
It's my hometown right there.
It's my hometown.
The way the season ended. Now, teams just kind of tightened up. The Flyers probably should have never. They overachieved, all that stuff.
They were pretty tired, too, especially Couturier.
Absolutely.
And
the goaltending fell apart. Couturier has the core muscle injury. His game falls off a cliff. He's now at 31 games since his last goal.
Oh, baby. How about that? And the defense minus Sean Walker.
Yeah, Sean Walker. Seeler they have a whole bunch of defensive injuries. Stuff goes wrong. But also, they just didn't look like the same outworking your team. And there might be a belief that team's kind of done with Torts. The way they've started this year, I kind of wanted to brush that off because we have seen them, like in the last Fedotov game, it was like, oh man, they're just beaten down by bad goaltending again. They look like they're just done with this. Then Ersson comes in and we see that pushback. It's like, all right, there's some life. Shut out in the home opener. 18 shots tonight. Giving up 2 shorthanded goals in a period. Is there something to it? Like, is there something maybe to John Tortorella and this team? Is it over this quickly?
I absolutely hate to give in to anything like this.
I hate this idea.
I hate it so much about it, but I really... And, like, I'm one of those guys, like, I really think Torts has done some good stuff in the past few years as far as, like, developing some guys like Cam York, for instance. I think he's done some really good work there. Morgan Frost is a much better player than when he started under John Tortorella.
When he's on the ice, certainly.
Yeah, he's better than he was. You know?
Is. He definitely is.
The toilet lid is halfway, but it's sometimes is up good. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I don't know.
Up good, bad. I don't know. One of them, whatever. We're not getting into that. That's not safe for work here. But as far as talking about this goes, I don't want to give into this, but I'm thinking it today. I'm thinking it because they just don't look nearly the same as they did last year. And he is a hard guy to play for. He's absolutely one of the hardest guys. The thing is, you and I at this point, because we are Flyers veterans, we have seen a number of teams give up on their coaches. And some of the body language, some of the frustrations plays into that because, like, we've seen Bill Barber, for instance. Bill Barber's one we saw them quit on. I'm trying to think of some other good ones out there. Ken Hitchcock.
I mean, it just
Peter Laviolette.
The last. I mean,
Peter Laviolette fired
3 games.
Around this point. Yeah,
3 games in. Yeah.
So hey, Tortsy, you made it double that. So congrats.
Yeah, I don't think I'm there yet. Like I'm
not there yet.
I see a frustrated team, and I'm hoping it's more frustration with their own play, their inability to cash in on the chances they do have, like that Bobby Brink chance tonight. It's like.
Yeah, Brink had
it
some
looked
great
like
chances.
he had some. It looked like he had some room on the short side right when he got the puck. He pulls it in and tries to go backhand, and the goalie he's just right there to glove it. And it was like that's the best chance we're gonna get all night. And
he's one of the guys who had juice, though.
Yeah,
he had juice. He was out there trying to make things happen. And I truly love him for that.
I don't think they've given up on the coach. I don't think they've quit on the coach, but at a certain point, like we always say, you can't fire 23 guys.
Right.
And the coach is the easiest scapegoat. Now, because of the position they're in, and they're constantly telling us we are still rebuilding, and the playoffs this year aren't the goal. The playoffs is a few years down the goal is a few years down the line to be contending for Stanley Cups, not to be the 8th seed this season. So maybe that's an out for them where they don't have to do it. But I'll tell you, as much as Tortorella is part of my frustration to start this season, and I do think maybe he pushed the wrong buttons at times last year when starting with the Felix Sandstrom issue where he did come out and apologize, and the Sean Couturier scratch where he was just trying to do his thing and maybe it went the wrong way. But I know there's so many new guys, so I can't hold everyone to the same standard of teams going back to like 2014, you know? But I'm done with this. I am done with them quitting on the coach. I have seen it too much.
I've seen it too much.
When you like, they quit on every coach since Laviolette on. Every single one. It's like, yeah, they quit on him. And listen, I get that happens, and sometimes you do the quiet quitting, you know, where you just, I'm at work, but I ain't doing anything.
I think a lot of us have done jobs where you quietly quit.
I don't really think they're there yet, but if that happens, they need to at least retool this rebuild and rethink some of these guys that they think are part of the core. Because I can't deal with this. I can't go through another 8-year period where we quit on 4 coaches. No. That's gone. That's over with.
We've had so many coaches in our lifetime, Bill. Like I always like to think I've been a Flyers fan. Like I've been a Flyers fan like all my life, but really actively since 1995. And when you go through the number of coaches, I remember back during the pandemic, we did an episode of Flight where we kind of went through all the best coaches since 2000, and it is a staggering number of coaches to go through. And the Flyers, I think, go through, I don't know the numbers, but I have to imagine the Flyers go through coaches more rapidly than any other team, maybe in all of sports. Maybe in all sports.
It really, like, when you look at their hockey reference and just see the list of coaches, like, if a guy lasts 3 years as Tortorella has, it's an anomaly.
This is honestly a pretty good run.
They fired Terry Murray after they went to the Stanley Cup final. Like, this is an organization that's always thrived on chaos, but they're not thriving anymore.
I believe it was a choking situation.
It was a choking situation. Now, that was like, listen, should they have been better? Yeah. Also, When you go
he was
back,
right, Clarky.
When you go back and look, it's like, well, that team then won again the next year in a sweep and is one of the best teams of all time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so maybe they didn't so much choke as the Flyers had one line and that team had, like, you know, Nick Lidstrom on the second pair.
What do you mean, like 70-year-old Paul Coffey wasn't doing it for you?
Yeah.
What do you mean, the tandem of Ron Hextall and Garth Snow wasn't doing it for you?
And I get that me and Charlie say this all the time, like, us as fans hold these things against the organization. And it's like, that's totally unfair to Briere and John Tortorella and the current crop of players.
But we're scarred, Bill. We're scarred.
I'm sorry, I can't not. And I don't want to have this quit on the coach conversation. The players need to suck it up and rally around hating him if that's the case. And if something else is the problem, then there needs to be something to address this. Because, again, I don't expect this team to make the playoffs. I don't expect them to make a run. But they need to not suck on most nights. Doing the rebuild in the fashion that they're doing it, they need to not suck most nights. And whether that's the coach or whether that's the roster, something has to change here.
2023. Ken Hitchcock, John Stevens, Peter Laviolette, Craig Berube, Dave Haxtell, Scott Gordon, Elaine Vigneault, Mike Yeo, and now John Tortorella.
I'm not doing this anymore. I'm done with this.
9 coaches.
I'm done blaming the coach.
In 10 years.
11
years.
The coach needs to be a lot better, but I'm just looking at things like the way the Flyers have scored their 13 goals through 6 games. We have talked, and like, you know what they need to do? They need to establish a forecheck. They need to create some traffic. They need to just get some dirty goals. Steve, I'm going to read off some of their goals. They're 13 goals through 6 games. I'm not counting, the goal that counts for them in a shootout, because that's not a goal.
It's not a goal. It literally doesn't count.
Yeah. Foerster finishes off a 3-on-2 down low by redirecting a pass to the far post into the net. Okay, he got to the net. It's a rush play, but
I would love anybody. If anybody got into the net besides Travis Sanheim tonight, they would have had more than 1 goal.
York Snipe, no real screen. Lawton battling in front for position. TK Shorty, 2-on-1. Farabee on the rush off that real nice feed from Brink, where Couturier made a nice play on the stick lift, but it's a rush goal. Michkov's first, where he battled down on the post to poke it in. At least he's battling. It's a dirty goal.
Dirty goal.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Michkov's second, off the feed from Frost. He beats the goalie.
That was a beauty.
That's just a beautiful goal. Brink scored looking for the redirect, but it goes off Ekholm's stick. But Luchenko's going to the net to make it happen. Nice.
Dirty goals.
That's good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. An
Hit
own
that
goal.
Net. Screen that goalie, please.
Lawton wraparound off the Poehling miss with the real nice play by Hathaway to make it an onside play. That's a nice play, but I wouldn't say it's a dirty goal. Yeah, Lawton shelves it on that touch pass, middle to outside, so he's all alone on the wing. York Snipe. Coots was battling in front, but he wasn't posing a threat.
No.
Drysdale, power play goal to seeing eye shot from long distance. Grubauer couldn't seem to track it with some Flyers and Kraken all kind of bunched through the middle. So, okay, they at least created some traffic. Then they were shut out by the Canucks. And tonight, the only goal, Sanheim scores 4-on-4 from the left side on a high to low feed from the opposite point. No traffic, but a good battle from Misch to get the puck out to York to start it off. 2 dirty goals in there out of 13. You're not. All we say is this team has no high-end talent. You're not going to score pretty goals. You're incapable of doing it. And it's just, and we have Charlie. We will get to him in just 1 second. I just need to finish this thought.
Please.
They are not good enough to try to score the way they're scoring.
No.
They need to basically create tush pushes. That's how this team needs to score, and they have failed to.
Jason Kelce, we need you to play center for the Flyers.
Honestly, it could be a lot worse. And with that, he was like a men's league hockey player, right?
He played in high school. And he said that Claude Giroux would come into the Eagles locker room and arm wrestle everybody.
And with that, we get to Philadelphia's #1 hockey beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, coming us live from the Wells Fargo Center tonight. Charlie, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I don't know if the Flyers are doing okay, but I'm doing okay.
This is our first meltdown post game of the year, Chuck. I'm losing my mind. That's where it's been.
That was half the reason I agreed to come tonight.
Yeah,
because I was a last minute addition, and I was like, you know what? I need to yell a little bit, so let's go.
You came in for Jet Luchenko tonight.
I did.
So I want to start with Tyson Foerster. I want to start at the beginning, and we'll work our way from there. Tyson Foerster comes out of the lineup. Was this my theory? Torts sending a message by sending one of his guys, because he sits Morgan Frost, everyone's immune to that. Okay, so it's a day of the week. Or was this simply, I want to get some other guys in the lineup? If you could get in that crazy man's head, what do you think the reason behind sitting Typho was?
Well, he was asked after the game why, and he more or less said he's just not playing well. And that was the most of an answer that we got from him. Now, look, we may rip on John Tortorella on occasion, but it's not like he doesn't do things for reasons. I'm sure he had a reason in his head beyond, I'm just angry at this guy right now. I'm sure he thought it out and decided that's who he wanted to sit. For me, it's just like there's so many guys playing poorly. I guess on one side, it could have been so many other people. On the other side, I can't bring myself to get annoyed with it because Tyson Foerster is absolutely one of those guys who deserve to sit. It's just that there happens to be like 8 guys who probably deserve to get scratched right now. And like, you had to pick one. My guess, and this is just a guess, is that John Tortorella thinks that Tyson Foerster is likely, probably because he has respect for him, he thinks Tyson Foerster is likely to take this the right way. Whereas, for example, on some level, and I'm not saying he won't do it because he's John Tortorella, he'll literally do anything. On some level, John Tortorella knows that, like, if he were to scratch Sean Couturier again, it's going to create an uproar. If he were to scratch Matvei Michkov, which again, like, he might, don't put anything past him, like, it's going to be a big thing. You scratch Tyson Foerster, like, yeah, some people online are going to be mad because that's just the way it works online. And Tyson Foerster's a popular player, but it's not going to create, like, no one nationally is going to be talking about the fact that John Tortorella scratched Tyson Foerster. And he probably thinks that Tyson Foerster is off to a slow start. He's a guy who he has a lot of respect for, who he praised constantly last year, but he probably thinks that Foerster needed a little bit of a wake-up call. And he thinks that Foerster is the type of player who will respond well to getting this wake-up call. Now, we'll see. He might not. I truly do not know the ways that one motivates Tyson Foerster. I don't know him well enough to know if he's going to respond poorly or well to this. John Tortorella, I suspect, thinks he will respond well to this. I guess we'll see if he's right. But I really think it boils down to just those two things. Number one, he's not playing well. Like, 8 or 9 players in his regular lineup aren't playing well. And he picked out a guy who, A, wasn't going to create a national firestorm if he sat him, and B, he feels like will respond in the right way to being scratched. That's why I'm guessing it happened. And I think, and I kind of tweeted this out when it got announced, like, on some level, I can't bring myself to get worked up about it because this is just John Tortorella. Like, this is the John Tortorella experience. We've seen it so many times that I can't bring myself to get outraged because I don't know. This is just what he does. This is what John Tortorella does. And either you just roll with it or you stop following the team.
Yeah, and the number of things that outraged me tonight, like, outrage isn't what I'm feeling. I'm just trying to, like, maybe attach a greater motivation to it. And maybe that's just, John Tortorella woke up and said, you know what, I'm mad at Tyson Foerster today. That could be too, because he's as emotional as we are as fans. I get it. But since we're talking about players who maybe deserve to come out of the lineup, Egor Zamula, Charlie, I understand he had a decent season last year in his first, like, okay, you're no longer waiver exempt, let's give you a shot. He even gave a little jolt to the power play at times last year. -3 tonight. He's punished for his -3 by playing the 3rd most minutes among the defense, almost 20. A couple of turnovers that lead to shorthanded. He was not good. People have been really zeroing in on Zamula. You think he's in the lineup tomorrow?
I don't know. There would certainly be justification to sit him. That said, I mean, for me, I'm less concerned about him being in the lineup and more concerned about him not being on the power play anymore. That's where he's at his worst, at least so far this season. Now, he showed some signs last year. There were some moments where Zamula showed some potential on power play too. His patience with the puck, he showed some real poise. And I think they want to give this a decent runway. Goes back to what John Tortorella has straight up said multiple times so far this season about not wanting to shake up the power play units too much because Rocky Thompson doesn't want that to happen because he wants to give these units a chance to build chemistry. So I think that's played into a lot of this. That said, Zamula looks bad on the power play. And even in the games where power play 2 looked good, it wasn't him that was driving it. It was Bobby Brink, it was Joel Farabee, it was Jet Luchenko on some nights. Like, Zamula was just there. He happened to be the guy up at the point, and now he's actively making it worse. So for me, like, look, if you want to scratch Egor Zamula, fine. Like, you could certainly justify it. If you can justify scratching Tyson Foerster, you justify scratching Egor Zamula. Fair. That said, if you scratch Egor Zamula, Erik Johnson's coming in. And I don't think that's moving the needle dramatically one way or the other, unless you want to go nuclear and call Emil Andre back up and actually play him. Like, that might actually make an improvement, but he's not here anymore. I don't think they're going to do that. So if you scratch Zamula, you're putting Johnson in. And I don't think that's really like dramatically changing your win probability percentage. The one thing they should do, and I agree in principle with the idea of we don't want to shake up the power play units. We know it was a big problem last year. That said, when a guy is looking this bad and you have other viable options in guys like Cam York and Travis Sanheim, who, like, I don't know if either of them are great power play guys, but they could do it. You know, they're capable of doing that. Like, to me, that's the no-brainer move. If you want to sit Egor Zamula, whatever, that's fair. But to me, the move here is you got to take him off that power play because yikes.
Yeah, and like Cam York, before his NHL career, effective power play player throughout his time. Like, I don't see why you wouldn't do it, especially considering Cam York needs to be on one of these units one day. So maybe that day should be Wednesday, October 23rd. Just a thought. Charlie, through 6 games, what line mate, center or winger, whatever, has looked best with Matvei Michkov?
I know what you want me to ask. I know what you want me to answer, but like, I don't know if anybody like Frost has shown signs. I think Morgan Frost has had shifts here and there. I think Sean Couturier has had shifts here and there where he's looked good with Michkov, but I don't think anyone has stepped up and made it clear that they have to be with Michkov at 5-on-5. I just don't think that anyone, like, I don't think there's anyone that's been that great with him, which is, I think, plays into why they're juggling the line so much. And I get the criticism of John Tortorella for juggling the lines. A couple people asked it to individual players after the game about, is all the line juggling messing with the chemistry where no one's really able to get into a fit? And I think Travis Sanheim was the frankest about it, where he basically said, look, like, yeah, it's tough. It's tough not, building that chemistry. But on one side, you can't really blame Torts. And he's absolutely right when he says, he's like, we're taking so many stupid penalties that the lines have to be shuffled around because of that, because we get run out of our flow because there's a guy in the box and then guys play PK and then there are only guys who play power play. So I don't disagree that the lines are probably being shaken up too much. And maybe John Tortorella is like getting his fix because he can't adjust the power play. So it's like, I got to do it all at 5-on-5. So he's doing it all at 5-on-5. But by the same token, they wouldn't have to shake up the lines this much if they were actually playing well, and they're not playing well.
I really thought tonight, and we can talk about this plenty tomorrow. Charlie and Kelly will be in studio with us for pre and post game. I thought tonight, in a night where they could not establish the forecheck, Michkov and Couturier looked like a pretty decent duo together. They were creating some room for each other down low. They were actually getting in on offense. And as kind of all of Twitter seems to be voicing this opinion at one point, they then go to an interview. I know you're in the arena, so you didn't see the broadcast. They go to an interview with Torts, and he goes, I don't like what's going on at center right now. Ryan Poehling's in between Michkov and Tippett. It's like, yeah, guess what's not going to work? That. But the Flyers then immediately took a penalty. I think it lasted like a shift or two, and then to get everything back together, pretty sure Coots was back out there with Mish just because they hadn't played on the penalty kill. The penalties definitely are coming into play with this line blender, but Torts just has to have some sort of discipline and say, I need to put something together and let it work. I don't think he's blameless in all this, but the players could absolutely help out by not sucking. What do you have, Craig? I'm winded.
I'm Craig now?
Oh, Jesus.
We've gone back in time. Gotta go back
Oh, my
in
God.
time.
That was
honestly,
I got a redhead here.
I understand the connection right here.
Oh, man.
Obviously, Ryan Poehling, right? He's
what
the
a
solution at 1C, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
Ryan.
He's got Torts' most... I don't know.
I
would love
feel like
to
an imbecile.
I would love to see some lines like build some chemistry over time. I would absolutely love to see that. Even if we're just talking like consistent wingers for Michkov, a center and a winger for Michkov, because like I always think for this season, like the wins and losses don't matter that much to me. I would like to see some better hockey, but I really just need to see development from the key young guys, and obviously he is the king of that whole setup right there.
Charlie, is this offense just due? Like, I equated it to the way we look at the Phillies sometimes where, and I think we overblow this, but like, Yeah, man, they're just going to break out for 10 runs one day. Like, is that coming, or is this just what they are right now? Like, they had 8 shots in the final 2 periods of this game. That's horrendous. And they're trailing the whole time. They're not they're not creating or pushing any offense. Like, are they due? Is there something they're doing that just isn't working? What's the problem with the offense right now?
Yeah, and spoiler alert, like that's going to be my column after the game is more or less, is this bad luck or are they just bad? Because I think, so here's the thing. Number one, they are legitimately snake bitten. Like there is a bad luck element to this. They are creating chances that you would think some of them are going to go in, particularly like the first 2/3 of this game. They created a bunch of legitimately high quality chances. And John Tortorella even pointed it out after the game. He's like, look, I think this whole game, it feels differently in terms of how we're feeling about ourselves. And as much as we've talked about how John Tortorella doesn't love Sean Couturier, I don't think this was meant as a shot at Coots. He basically just said, like, imagine if Couturier scores on the second shift of the game, that shot that is the crossbar. He's just like, it's a totally different game, and not just because of the goal, because we're just feeling better about ourselves. We're not behind the proverbial 8 ball and gripping the sticks too tight and worrying if we're ever going to score. And I do think that there is an element of bad luck, an element of being snake bitten. However, and this is important, think back to last year. Like, number one, this team didn't score a ton of goals last year. No. But the way they scored goals, it was never because they had a super high shooting percentage. It was because they generated a lot of shots. And they just kind of like, okay, well, if you shoot the puck 36 times in a game on goal, like you're going to luck into 2 or 3. And that was more or less how they did it. Well, tonight, like they didn't break 20. And that's the bigger concern. Like, look, they are going to get better luck. Some of these chances are going to go in. Some of these shots that they're setting up are going to stop hitting posts, are going to stop missing the net. Like, there will be a time, I promise you, and I know it doesn't seem like it's possible, there will be a time when, like, Owen Tippett hits the net with his shots. Like, it's going to happen, I swear. It's not going to go on forever. But this is not a team, true talent-wise, that is going to have an above-league average shooting percentage. They weren't last year. They really didn't make that many changes other than adding Michkov, who, like, super talented, but, like, he's a 19-year-old rookie. I'm not expecting him to turn this team into an above-average shooting team on his own. So if they're going to want to score goals, it's not going to be because they're going to be able to hold a 11%, 12% shooting percentage. It's going to be because they take a lot of shots. And if they're not taking a lot of shots, they're going to have a lot of games where they score 1, 2 goals and that's it. That to me is the bigger problem. And the question is are they playing well enough structurally? Do they have the puck enough to create the kind of shot volume they did last year, which allowed them to overcome the fact that they're not a good finishing team? Because I don't think this is a good finishing team. I think they can get past it if they shoot enough. Tonight, they did not shoot enough.
Just one more for you, Charlie, because there were no stars. Nic Deslauriers 1, 2, and 3.
Also, can I rant a little bit about that? And I'm not saying that this changed the game or that like they would have scored, but Nic Deslauriers, come on, man. Okay, I know you're only in there to fight. I get it. It's your first game of the year. You're already chirping with the guy on your first shift to drop the gloves. It's an offensive zone faceoff. You win the draw. You've got the puck. The other team's defense is scrambling. You didn't score a single goal in the home opener. Like, I don't know, man. Maybe wait 15 seconds for the puck to go out to the neutral zone before you start fighting a guy. Like, that to me, and I know I'm like, maybe I'm a little bit of a like anti-fighter in the sense that like I don't think every single fight is inherently good because someone's getting his face punched in. Like, that to me was so god damn stupid. Like, have some sort of awareness and don't just be like,
I love it.
I'm gonna fight. Like, fuck, don't fight in that situation. Your team needs goals. You have the puck in the offensive zone. That was insanely stupid, in my opinion.
Let's also call out the coach, though, for putting Nic Deslauriers on an offensive zone draw, because that's a bad idea.
Well,
fair point.
You get what you pay for. Nick Seeler made his return tonight, Charlie. Played 15-30, the fewest amongst defensemen. A couple of shots, had almost scored a shorthanded goal, 1 block, 2 hits. What'd you think of Nick Seeler in his season debut?
I thought Seeler was fine. One thing I will say about this game, and there weren't a lot of good things about the Flyers in this game, I thought, set aside the third period, because I think once they score that third goal right after Sanheim finally gets a goal, And Sanheim more or less admitted this, and then John Tortorella after the game straight up said that's the way he felt like it was on the bench. The bench just got deflated after that third goal. You work so hard to get the one goal, then suddenly you're down 2 again. After that, I just think the team was out. Like, it was over functionally. But before that, I thought the Flyers actually played good defensively. Like, the 2 goals they give up are shorthanded goals on, transition rushes. Like, yeah, that stinks, and you blame the second power play unit, sure. But I thought defensively, they did most of this game. They did a good job getting in lanes. They did a good job tying up sticks. They did a good job, winning puck battles. I thought defensively, this was a pretty good game for the Flyers until the wind got completely knocked out of their sails in the third. And I do think that the presence of Nic Seeler helped in that regard, because he is a defensively oriented defenseman who blocks a ton of shots and just does those little things in the defensive zone. I thought defensively, the team was better. The big problem now is just scoring goals.
Nicky Norris, man, he's back, and things are going to turn around from here. All right, that is Flyers, the number 1 Flyers beat reporter, Charlie O'Connor, coming to us live from the Wells Fargo Center. I will talk to you tomorrow. Thank you very much, Chuck.
Thanks, guys.
All right, this is the PHLY Flyers pregame show, brought to you by Bet365. And right now, I got to talk to you about Rite Aid, baby, because you got to get those flu shots. That's right. Don't miss the big game. Maybe it's a Flyers game, but you don't want to be sick no matter what. Halloween coming up next week, Thanksgiving. It's a fun time as long as you're healthy, and the best way to stay healthy is by getting a flu shot at Rite Aid. And while at the pharmacy, you can get up to date on all of the latest vaccines and even ask your pharmacist for a vaccine review and recommendations. The CDC recommends getting a flu shot every year. A person's immune protection from vaccination declines over time, so help protect yourself against the flu by getting your annual flu shot at Rite Aid. Flu viruses are constantly changing. Get your annual flu shot formulated to help protect you against this year's flu strains and all your friends and family around you. Flu vaccines do not protect against everything, though. So while you're there, ask your pharmacist, what do you think is right for me? And get vaccinated for everything you might need. And while you're at the pharmacy, stock up on cough, cold, flu, and allergy essentials. Rite Aid has what you need to get you through the season. Just walk into your local Rite Aid or schedule an appointment at riteaid.com. State, age, and health restrictions apply. Ask your Rite Aid pharmacist for details. And while we're here, got to talk to you about our friends at Glatt Hair Restoration. I've been hearing about Glatt Hair since, as long as I've been listening to Johnny Marks, which is quite a long time. And now that he has come aboard at PHLY, I'm hearing even more about them. And the Glatt Hair Restoration Center is now brought to you by the Morgenstern Medical. It's Dr. Morgenstern. He's been a renowned plastic surgeon for years, and now you get the same peerless approach, same expert team, same unmatched Glatt system, same state-of-the-art location, and same stellar results under the direction of Dr. Morgenstern. And each member of this exceptionally trained team brings 30-plus years of industry experience. Hair restoration is all they do, and not just hair on your head. You might be hearing this from me and be like, You're telling me about hair restoration? They do beards as well. They can thicken up your beard. Listen, man, I know how it is. You get a little light on the sides. You want to thicken that up. They can help you. So make sure you check out Glatt Hair Restoration, because bald is now optional. If you want to improve how you look and how you feel about yourself, Glatt Hair has the right treatment for you. Regain your confidence. Visit glatthairmctr.com or call 610-980-4000 to get started today. All right, what do you got here, Steve?
So we're talking about the all-important flu season coming up.
Of course.
We all know about the Philly flu. So I'm wondering, do the Flyers have some sort of reverse Philly flu right now where they can't play at home? Because the 2 games, like, you'd think some home cooking would do them well. It has done the opposite.
Now, listen, they only won one of the 4 road games to start the season.
But they got a point in one of the other ones.
At least they were interesting.
Yes.
Like, they did stuff that was good. They've scored 1 goal in 6 periods at the Wells Fargo Center. This name change can't come enough, Steve.
No.
This Wells Fargo thing needs to end yesterday.
But that building is cursed in general.
It certainly is.
I mean, it's been around since the late 90s. It's been nothing but bad for the team. So, maybe the Sixers are actually trying to get out for not, selfish monetary reasons, but maybe just for the ghosts, to get away from the ghosts. Have we considered this?
Honestly, I can't blame them.
Yeah.
Like, the building opens, the Flyers get swept in the Stanley Cup final, and everything's bad ever since.
Yeah.
Come on. They give
it's
up.
Just science, guys.
The guy we didn't get in the 2007 draft. scores against us in that building. Maybe it's the building's fault.
I'm gone. Mention of that, I can't.
I have ended the show. Yeah. No, before we end tonight's show, you know how we do it. We've got to hit those super chats. So let's see, quite a few of them. So let's get it started with Patrick. He says, Torts is infuriating. Why juggle the lines every shift? Coots and Michkov look good together, and Tippett was a waste. Solution, replace Coots with, checks notes, Ryan Poehling. Yeah, that was, to me, right now, what I want to see. And you couldn't do it tonight because we decided not to play him. Give me Couturier, Foerster, and Mish. You have two guys who can play some defense. You have a guy with a high IQ, all high IQ players, a guy who can score and play a little give and go with Michkov. I think it's the best possible combination right now, and it's like the one thing they haven't tried is Foerster with Michkov. Maybe we get it tomorrow.
What I also like about that is you're giving Michkov some size to work with. And one of the big problems when he's out on the ice is you're not really getting in close enough to the net.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bad perimeter shots, and Michkov, to work well, needs to get behind the net. Like he's basically taken up residence in Wayne Gretzky's office. So get him behind the net, get him the puck, and let him work his magic with two big bodies who can work their way out front.
I thought Michkov and Coots looked good on the forecheck when they played together tonight. The thing I was most impressed with, starting with the rookie game through preseason and now the first 6 games, Mish is always looking to make a play. And a play that will result in a goal. Where are goals scored? Around the net. Need to get there. I think adding a little size would definitely help with that.
Give me that high hockey IQ top line. Give me the Brainiacs,
and
all right? I want the Brainiacs.
It also would lead to the speed line I want of Tippett, Luchenko, and Konechny.
I am into that.
Listen, they might all be dumb as hell. At least the two wingers, and then you have the youngest player in the league in the middle. But just put that pressure on a defense. Make them back all the way up. That is a zone entry waiting to happen. We're having so much trouble getting in the zone. Well, guess what? When they're playing cover 2, you'll be in. They don't want to get beat on a 3-on-1. This is the way to make it happen.
I'm into it.
I like it. All right, let's hit JH here. Can't blame the road trip and time change for this. No, I am beyond that. They had a couple days off. They are home. They don't have to leave the Eastern time zone now till the end of November. That excuse is now, I've erased it. I'm not willing to give them that excuse anymore. They have just sucked for the most part.
Strike it from the books. It's gone.
Yeah. All right. This is the one I can never read. Who is Mike Mall? I think I got it. Whoa, we're halfway there, living on a prayer. Yeah, it's I guess. I mean, for the people who are pro tank, it's like they're all getting to say I told you so.
Yeah, but whatever. I mean, they got 3 first-round picks, so it's going to be a good year anyway. I mean,
unless of course Colorado continues to suck and then it gets punted till 2026.
I have a feeling that the team with Nathan McKinnon and Cale Makar is going to end up being at worst mid-range. Like if they're top 10, I'm not going to make any promises here. I'm not going to make another who was the guy I was going to buy? Valtteri Filppula jersey.
Oh, God.
I'm not going to do that again. Okay. Oh, Filppula is never happening, folks. All right. Never. Unless PHL wants to, if they want to pay for one. Or
sure. Yeah.
Who's to say?
Yeah. But all right. Let's get to this next one from JH. No more heart or grit. Letting the Caps tick away just as much time as they wanted behind the net without forcing them to play the puck is just, I think that says BS.
What's Garnet Hathaway doing? I thought he's supposed to be the grit guy on this team, and I'm dead serious on that. Like, I like Hathaway, and last year he was the sandpaper guy. Why is he not sandpapering enough?
We've seen, I think it was last game, team took 3 penalties. They were all him. That's I don't know if we've seen enough.
You're scratching the surface of the table with that sandpaper.
I don't know if we've seen enough good Hathaway yet, but honestly, I'm not ready to call out their grit or anything. They just haven't had the puck enough.
They haven't had the puck enough, and
to be able to get in on offense and hit some people and get going.
They're not that big. If they're
a small team.
If you think about the guys they have, obviously Michkov is pretty small. Jet's pretty small. Couturier is a decent size, but he's slow and he's not really a hitter. Deslauriers is big, but he's slow as hell. really, Hathaway he's decent size and Seeler's your biggest grit sandpaper hit guy, and he's coming back from an injury, and he barely got playing time tonight.
It was in I think maybe the second, maybe it was beginning of the second period. Puck goes in behind the net. Mish comes in, forces a pass. It's defenseman to Tom Wilson, who's like on the goal line accepting the pass. Tippett comes in to try to get into the forecheck. Just put a bump on Tippett, or to put a bump on Wilson, and just bounces off of him. Just absolutely. And like Tippett, moving at that speed, if you're this big, you should still be able to knock a dude over.
Sure.
And like, it's not as if he's small. No. Tippett's not, but it's Tippett's Tom Wilson.
A little bit of height, but Tom Wilson.
Honestly,
he's the juggernaut. You know?
It's not as if Mish is out there throwing hits, but he's their most physical player. Just because of his ability to battle through contact, he's their most physical player. All right. They are a little too small.
They're small, and I'm not like, I know you have to be fast in today's game, and I'm glad they're getting some speed. I wouldn't mind.
You need badasses.
Yeah, you need some badasses, but like, I wouldn't mind having another big body, specifically in the middle.
Yeah.
To play with Mish and maybe, I don't want an enforcer playing with him, but I wouldn't mind like a guy with some size who can like maybe shove some guys in case somebody messes with Michkov, because that's one of the things that concerns me is guys will go into the boards and mess with them. I don't want Nic Deslauriers being his best friend. When Danny Briere made that comment, it drove me nuts, because if Nic Deslauriers plays with Michkov this year, that is a huge failure. That is a huge failure.
I'm not going to get upset about.
But if you had like a center that could maybe just do some shoving, I'm into that.
I can't let myself get upset about stuff that hasn't happened
yet. Let's not doom scroll yet.
Let's go to Kev A here on the super chat. Drysdale is a below average defenseman on a mediocre decor. Trade him now, because by the end of the year, you'll have to pay a draft pick to get rid of him. I'm nowhere near ready to give up on Drysdale, because they've openly told us they're retraining him.
Is that Chuck Fletcher in the chat right there? Because that's a Chuck Fletcher strategy right there. It's like, I don't know what to do with this offensively gifted defenseman, so let me just throw in a pick to trade him somewhere else. I'm not ready to give up on Jamie Drysdale. That guy has enough smooth skating abilities and enough puck skills in the offensive zone that if you can find a way to retrain him and focus it, he could be a great asset to this team. I'm not ready to give up on this guy.
What I will say is that if the rumor about Marco Rossi being one of the other guys that was possible to acquire in a trade, given this team's lack of offense, their lack of centers, that would have been a nice move.
Yeah.
Gauthier for Rossi.
If something like that, comes up.
Now, with Dry, I don't think they're moved. He's their 1C now in Minnesota, so he did score tonight as well. But I'm not ready to give up on Jamie. We just need him to be good. That's it. Those are your options with Jamie, or you cut bait with him in a couple of years.
Right.
There's no trading him and hoping you win a good trade. You need to be good.
You need to be good, and specifically, he's one of those guys that if he can live up to his offensive potential, if he can be good on the power play, then I can put up with some defensive. We've seen so many good offensive defensemen who are just trash on defense.
If he's running the point on your top power play, and him and Mish are the guys making it go, and he's playing third pair minutes with Hunter McDonald at 5-on-5, I'll live.
I'll play 7 D-men. All right, and just play him on the power play for all I care. If he can live up to that ability, and that's a big if, obviously. But if he can do that, I'm willing to put up with it.
All right, Jonathan Marshall is next. Steve, got to start playing with some jam in here. They just, they definitely look different from last year.
Yeah.
I think now that they've tightened up defensively, maybe they can start turning defense into offense, but it doesn't look the same. The rush opportunities aren't there. Obviously, they're not scoring on the rush when they do get the opportunities. And the forecheck, which was an issue for a lot of last year, still a big issue.
Forecheck's horrible, and I couldn't agree more, John. Love you, John. They need to play with jam desperately. They are lacking jam. Laviolette is just screaming and punching Ville Leno in the head, thinking of the lack of jam on this team.
All right, and here from Kev A. Noticed that the team passed up a lot of hits and opted for stick checks. Is that the size thing, coaching simply, or simply unwilling? I do think it's maybe not a lot of these players' forte, but I saw Bobby Brink in the defensive zone tonight, seal a guy off and finish, maybe not a body check, but sealed the guy off and pinned him and created a battle, and then the puck went the other way. They need to at least do that.
Yes. They got to play smarter. If they can't outmuscle the other team, they have to play smarter and they have to be craftier.
And getting in on the forecheck, like maybe they're not a team that's going to hit everyone. Then win the race to the puck. Be first.
Be faster.
Be first.
They're not
get there.
I need Owen Tippett to be the fastest guy out there.
Yeah.
Michkov. I mean, Michkov isn't known for his speed, but he won some
He's
puck battles
crafty.
tonight getting there.
He creates puck battles with his reach and then wins them, even if they're not 50-50 pucks. They might be 60-40, and he creates a battle. Like, you need to at least be able to do that. If you're not going to run guys through the end boards, listen, it's 2024. Most teams don't.
No, they don't. But like even Scott Laughton is finding ways to get to the puck first, and you need to
create a battle.
I need that compete level to go up, boys.
All right, and I think that will do it for the Super Chats. I believe that's it. Yeah, that's all for the Super Chats, and that is all the time we have for you tonight. But before we get out of here, I got to tell you about becoming a diehard, damn it. Do it. And right now is the time, because for a limited time, new diehards can get in for just $4 a month annually, $48 for the year. You get a new shirt when you sign up. You get access to all of our premium content. That's right, Charlie O'Connor, plus the rest of our superstar roster of writers here at PHLY. Access to the Discord, discount on events, discount on merch, all sorts of great stuff when you sign up. And for right now, it's only $48 for the year. So now is the time. All right, that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers Postgame, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Flyers still looking for their first win. Maybe we'll be talking about it on Postgame tomorrow. Find us right here on the YouTube and set that reminder bell. I'll be back with pre and post game. Charlie and Kelly will be joining us. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow this guy at Flyperbole. Steve Jaco joining us tonight. And follow the podcast wherever you find those. Just search PHLY Flyers. That's right. My name's Bill Matz. That's Steve Jaco. Until next time, let's go Flyers, I guess.
We all silly like the mayor.